DreAllDay.com.
Balling with DreAllDay.com, BallOverseas.com, Overseas Basketball Blueprints podcast you're listening to right now. And the question is, what do you do off the court when you're playing basketball overseas? This is a good question. This is a question that you, as a professional player, once you get your deal, or if you already have a deal, this is a question that you're going to need to answer, either through your actions or through some premeditated thoughts, because you're going to have some time on your hands. As I've said before, and as you may already know, as a basketball player, you can't work 8 hours a day. You can't train for 8 hours a day. A team is not going to, no coach is going to have you practicing 8 hours a day. So you're not going to be working a 40-hour week. You're going to work probably somewhere between 1 and 3 hours every day, even on a long day, not counting your travel times or your prep times, but your actual on the court or in the gym time. It's going to be between 1 and 3 hours a day, maybe 2 to 4 if you have a slave driver for a coach or a trainer, or maybe you like to push yourself really hard. There's only so much you can physically do yourself. So you're going to have the rest of the day or a whole lot of time on your hands. You're going to have some days where it's just an off day. There is no training, there is no workouts, and you don't need to be training or working out even on your own, because your body needs that rest. Your body needs that time off. So what are you going to do with that time? If you're on a team, I was on teams where we would practice at maybe 8 o'clock in the morning, from 8 to maybe 9:30, and then we would practice again from maybe 5 o'clock p.m. to 6:30. So what is that? Those 2 90-minute sessions, that's 3 hours in a day. And let's just add in another hour for prep time and cool down time afterwards. I live close to the gym, so I could walk there or get a ride with one of my teammates. We could even add another hour. We could just say that's 5 hours total. That's a 5-hour work day. I think there are a lot of people working in America right now, entrepreneurs, business people, professionals, people with regular jobs, who would gladly work 5 hours a day and get a full-time salary. So that's what your life is going to be, and that's when you're practicing twice a day on a team that's doing it like that. You might be on a team that's only practice once a day. And so I've heard players who play on teams where they don't really practice at all. They kind of have practice, but not really. And they kind of just do whatever they want to do. If you want to work out, you can. But if you don't, we'll just see you on game day. I've heard of players having situations like that. So what are you going to do with that extra time? I mean, if you know any players who play overseas, or maybe you hear stories of players who play, you see the things that they do. There are some players who make YouTube videos. Some players show you a day in the life, or they show you their lifestyle. Some players become rappers. Some players make online content in the form of written content. Maybe they have their own podcast. Maybe they're spending time with their family. Some players have their family overseas, so they use that for family time. It's great to have a family with you when you're playing overseas, because you get a lot more time than the person who's working a regular job, even though that I'm not saying it is easy. But you get a lot more time with your family because you don't have as much time committed to work, even though you do need to have time off your feet, because you are an athlete and your body is your engine. It is your complete business. Me personally, I would take a lot of photos. And this is before it was ubiquitous to have cameras on the phone all the time. So I had actual cameras. And this is when I was doing a lot of YouTube videos. So I made YouTube videos. I did a lot of writing. I'm an author, so I'm a big writer. So I did a lot of writing on blogs. I would write on my social media pages. I would write my books. Those are the things that I spent a whole lot of time doing. I'm an internet geek. So that's really where I spent a lot of my time. But I had teammates who spent a lot of time going out messing with females. There are guys who like to take in the local cuisine, do sightseeing, things like that. People who just on the phone all the time talking to somebody back home, whether it be a girl or friends and family. I've seen people do anything that you can name that people do in their time off. I've seen people doing it when playing basketball overseas. And there are people who did kind of a whole lot of nothing. People who would just sit around, watch TV, watch movies. If they got cable or on the internet, now people watching on the internet now. It's not even TV anymore. So I knew players who would do that. They didn't really do anything active with their time, with their off time. They would just sit around, watch TV, and the only thing they did active was play basketball. And that was pretty much it. That was their lives. And I'm not judging them. It's just what they decided to do. So when you're playing basketball overseas, you will have a ton of time. Now, you probably don't have a lot of people around you that you know like that. You got your teammates. But, I mean, think about if you live in the United States right now or wherever you live, you got a whole community that you're familiar with. You know the area, you know where everything is, you know where the mall is at, you know where the gym is at, you know where the park is at, you know where to take a walk to, you know where the stores are. You got all these people around who you might see. You got people you can call, a whole phone full of people you could call. You want to hang out with somebody, whatever. When you're overseas, the number of people that you know shrivels up from this when you're at home all the way down to like this. You don't know that many people, and I'm making my hands very small for those who listen to on audio. So it goes from this big basketball-sized circle of friends to a little grain of sand circle. So you know all your teammates. Hopefully you know your teammates. You might have a few friends who are in town that maybe you've met, maybe you knew somebody already, maybe you've been in that town for a couple seasons, so you start to know people like that, but you don't have anywhere near the social circle when you're overseas as an American as you have when you're actually in America as an American, because you know the area that you're at, you know the area where you live. So you don't have as much time, you don't have as much opportunity to socialize and hang with other people because it ain't really that many other people to choose from. So you do need to really think about how you're going to spend that downtime. Make sure you're spending it in a way that will complement what you need to do on that court, because remember, the only reason you have this downtime in this place that you may have otherwise never gone to, this foreign country that you may have otherwise never visited, is because of what you do out there on that court. So make sure you're not doing anything dumb off the court, like getting into fights, being at too many parties, getting drunk, being on your feet too much so that your body is not recovering and your legs are not ready for you to perform on that basketball court the next day. Then make sure you're not posting anything online that the team might think is questionable, that might make them rethink whether they want you on the team or not. Don't do anything dumb. All right, that's the bottom line. Don't do anything dumb that would jeopardize your career and jeopardize your contract, because remember, your career and your contract and your performance on the court is what allows you to have that downtime to do what you want to do. So if you want to do something productive with it, like, I don't know, start a business on the side, I wouldn't suggest starting a business, because starting a business is a full-time commitment, and so is playing ball. You can't do two full-time jobs at the exact same time. You can't do them well, at least. You could do them, but you won't do them well. So if you want to have some kind of side hustle maybe that you do, maybe you, I don't know, whatever it is you could do as a side hustle. You want to blog, you want to write books, maybe you want to start a podcast, who knows, whatever it is you want to make YouTube videos, whatever it is that you want to do. You want to mentor some people back home through Skype calls. Whatever it is, make sure it's something that complements what you are already doing, does not get in the way of what you're already doing, and does not in any way, shape, or form jeopardize what you have going on the court. Remember, that is the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. Do not endanger the golden goose by making bad decisions off the court. If you can't decide what to do off the court, stay in the house and think about it until you figure it out. All right, don't go outside of the house and then say, hey, let me figure out what I'm going to do with this time. No, stay in the house, figure it out, then go outside. And when you're playing overseas, another thing that I should share here, make some trusted friends who know the area, who know the town that you're in, who may know they understand the local customs, they understand how things go, and be with those people often when you're out and when you're around, especially if you're very well known, especially if people know, like, maybe they have some idea of what they think you got, what kind of money you're making, things like that. Have someone who is local around with you. Anywhere that I played, I always have somebody local who I knew. Doesn't mean I always had somebody with me. I would walk the town by myself all the time, but I knew what was going on. I knew who was who, and I knew if I ever needed anything, I knew who I could call. Whether that be a teammate of mine, I would always, of course, know teammates, and teammates will be local guys, but also people who were not players, but they knew the area. I trusted them and they trusted me, and they would help me out with anything I need. They knew who was who, they knew what was what, they knew where was where, they knew where to stay away from. If I ever need to call on them, I could call on them. So make sure you're doing that. The same way you would do it in America, you in a neighborhood you've never been to before, you probably want to know somebody who's from that neighborhood who knows what's going on and knows where to turn left and where to turn right. Do the same thing when you're overseas, because you are very well known, you're very visible. It's not necessarily you should expect to have a target on your back, depending on where you are and who you are and how you conduct yourself, maybe, but I'm not saying that you should be afraid of that. What I am saying though is that you want to have somebody around who knows the lay of the land when you don't. And that will help you a lot when you're navigating, especially moving about outside of your house, especially if you're black and tall in some country where everybody's fair-skinned and not that tall. All right, you obviously stand out. All right, you are a center of attention no matter what you're doing, even if you're not trying to be. So make sure you're protecting yourself, not because something's going to happen, but just so nothing does happen. That's the point that I'm making. So that's what I need to say about off the court life when you're playing professional basketball overseas. For those of you who don't know, this is on the podcasting app. If you're watching this on video, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, all of those, please subscribe to the show on whatever platform you choose. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Let everybody know about the game we are dropping on this show and how it is helping you out. Again, that's on all the podcast platforms. The website for the show is overseasbasketballblueprint.com/podcast. And make sure you get your free copy. Claim your free copy of the Overseas Basketball Blueprint, 237-page blueprint that tells you everything you need to know, everything you need to do, and everything you should not do when it comes to starting and furthering your professional basketball career overseas. The bulk is free. It's already paid for. All you got to do is take care of the shipping. Go to balloverseas.com. Everybody work on your game. Dre all day.